Welcome to the Freelance Thrive. Here we talk with skilled freelancers about their professional journey. Stay tuned for real-life experiences to learn and actionable steps to take to improve your freelancing career. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Monika Fischer, a mindset coach, intercultural communication and soft skills trainer who started her freelancing journey back in 2009 and developed business skill set and mindset by practicing and adjusting tools and methods. So welcome, Monika.
Thank you very much for having me.
Super happy to talk to you. And, we always talk about soft skills and people usually like, oh, okay, soft skills. It's something unrelated to my profession. It's something I have to learn, but I don't know what is it. But I think that they are really related to every profession, and having every interview and having every conversation, everyone like, oh, let's talk about soft skills. So what are soft skills?
Well, the reason why you, as you introduced the topic, as you feel that, and many people feel that, is that I'm sure many of your listeners also heard of Simon Sinek, and he calls soft skills human skills. So everything that is a skill that has to do with humans, that in his opinion is a soft skill. And it's a very unfair distinction if you think about it, hard skills and soft skills, as if soft skills are less important or less valuable. But when you talk to HR people and all the recruiters, it's usually the soft skills that they pay attention to, because the hard skills they can improve, it's measurable, and the soft skills are the ones that are, they can also be improved, obviously. This is why I have a job, but it's not as easy to measure them or to pinpoint whether somebody has it or not, or to the extent that is needed for the profession or for the position.
As people are talking in the community world, a sense of belonging. So it's hard to really measure community stuff, but I feel it. So I think that it's very similar in soft skills. And from your experience, what are their top 3 soft skills that really matters for people?
Well, if we think of what is, for example, our common topic, or what we are both passionate about, community, there you obviously have to have some kind of people skills. So either as a community member or as a community leader. And these are not soft skills that are pinpointed, but I think they will probably get some more attention in the future, especially since we don't have communities anymore, right? So we don't have, we are born in some communities, but we don't always stay there. So we have different skills developing within different communities. So that will probably change. So I'd say this is one of the top skills, how you treat people, how you acclimate yourself to a new community, and whether you can lead a community. So it could be a leadership skill as well, but I think it's a little bit more than that. So it takes a little bit more. But when you look at the world as it is now, then we have a so-called resilience skill, which is that flexibility, that flexibility of the mind, so to speak. So how quickly you can adapt to change, how quickly you can progress when you don't even know, what's coming. We can't really plan now for the next 5 years or 10 years as we could before. So how quickly you can adapt to a different circumstance.
Adaptation to change. I'm hearing it more and more, and I believe that, as you told, nowadays it's one of the best soft skills. But I feel like for many people who got used to doing the same thing all over again during their lifetime, it's the hardest skill to gain. It's almost impossible, because they got used to work only in one direction, just go the way they were. And how do you think, how they can improve? Is it possible to improve this adaptability skill?
Well, if you don't improve it yourself, then circumstances will improve it for you. It's always, life will throw something at you that will make you improve it immediately or in a short term. So I would think of it as a muscle, or I usually think of all these mindset things as different muscles. So if you don't train them, it will, be either very stiff or it will not evolve with time. So if you train it beforehand, so if you put yourself in different situations and circumstances and not let circumstances dictate how you have to change, then you can develop it for sure. It's just how we think of it always that determines whether or not we're willing to do it. Because I see many people putting it as opposed to stability. So it's either change or stability. Whereas now we really have to realize that we don't have stability as we had before or how we thought of it before. It's a different kind of stability. And I like this metaphor of the yogi people who always say that, you can only be stable while moving. So it's actually only possible to be stable in any yoga position if you're moving some of the muscles, but it's not as visible. So that's how resilience works as well, that you kind of build this muscle very in really insignificant places, and then globally it seems that it's not a change, but you do change with time.
And I totally get what you're talking about, circumstances. And I also know that it might be hard sometimes, because it's so much easier when you do it before the circumstances hit. But how do you think, like, from your experience, is there effective technique to improve adaptability? So not waiting for circumstances to hit you, but how to prepare for it, how to change your mindset. I don't even know how to ask it, but how to deal with this thing.
I know. Yeah. So the thing about that is that when we feel uncertain about something, it's not the thing that we feel uncertain about, but we are not really prepared for the emotions that will come with that situation. So we don't really want to process the emotions. Or when you think of a very difficult conversation, for example, it's not the conversation itself that you don't want to have. I mean, you know what you want to say, you know what you want to, get through to the other person, but you don't really want the other person to think badly of you or to be offended or to be hurt or anything. So it's always about emotions and how well you deal with them. And what we see right now is that the reason why we are in such a generalized way, in such a bad mental health condition, is because there are just so many emotions. So there are our private emotions, global emotions, our community emotions. So there is so many things going on and so little time to process, just as we talked beforehand, that we don't really give time for processing these emotions. So it's not so much about the thing that you do, but how you feel while you're doing it, and whether you let yourself be in a bad emotion or even bad, what does it mean, a bad emotion or negative emotion? We just label them, but it's not bad. It's just not comfortable, maybe, in that particular.
I'm remembering this episode from the animational movie Upside Down, when there are a lot of emotions and there is happiness and sadness. And there is an elephant sitting and crying, and happiness trying hey, let's go, let's play some games, let's do it. And then sadness is coming oh, I know what you feel. Oh, I know that you are sad. You must have liked this. Yeah. And she was happiness, hey, what are you doing? You're not helping. And then that's exactly what helps. So you never know, can you even call this bad emotions? Because it's your emotions. You have to live through them. Yeah. So, and I also believe that it's super hard to stop yourself in the moment and truly think about your emotions. And I totally believe, I have no ideas, and I will ask you about that because you are an expert. I believe it is connected with mindset coaching, but tell me, what is the mindset coaching, and if it's really connected is the way I feel it?
Well, some people would argue that that it's like repeating two words, that coaching itself is about mindset. So changing your way of thinking and how you approach things and from what aspect you look at it. The reason why I emphasize it is because the female founders that I work with, they always joke about, you can trace anything back to mindset. And I can, because I always think that the way that we're socialized or the way we were brought up or, what kind of influences we had influenced our mindset. And then when you get into a new community or a new circumstance, then you think, hang on, something's not right. This is not how I used to do things. So this is to come back to the resilience thing again, right? So that if you don't challenge yourself, that in a new situation, in a new circumstance, you can think different. You're allowed to change your mind, basically. Mm-hmm. Then you can't really, but it's more difficult to adapt. So mindset coaching in the way I see it is pinpointing how you can think differently about a situation or about yourself in that situation, so that but not in this toxic positivity way, that you find the bright side of everything, but so that you can get yourself to action. Because with action, it's easier to get yourself out of a bad decision or a bad situation or something that you're not really, comfortable with staying in. So change of aspect, change of thinking, change of perspective to a certain case or situation. That's how I would call it.
And am I correct that you are working with every person individually?
Both one-on-one, yes, but I also like group coaching. So where female founders of different businesses come together, because then they have, again, community. Then they have that kind of safe space where they can share their experiences and not think, oh, hang on, but she's way above me, or, she's making more money, or she has a better product or whatever, but they can actually share freely. And by sharing, they already find the solution usually. So I like both. I like group and individual coaching.
And I also feel that it's also about removing some barriers in your mind.
Yeah. For sure.
And I believe that sometimes to remove a barrier, like mind barrier, might be might be harder than remove some house.
Something physical, yeah.
Physical barriers.
Exactly. Because, and this is to come back to your question or comment on emotions, because we don't usually even have the vocabulary for the barriers. So we know that it's something that is blocking us, but unless somebody else, like a coach or a mentor or, just a friend or somebody asks you about it, you're not, it's not always a given that you can put it into words, but you just, you feel that something is blocking you. So, mostly those barriers are not even conscious, but again, it's socialization, growing up, getting to know different kind of impacts, inputs, and turning that into a barrier, because it's not a barrier in itself. Thinking like, I don't know, I just heard this sentence today that there was a female founder whose thought was, only men can be entrepreneurs, not even successful entrepreneurs, like only men can be entrepreneurs, like this sentence. It wasn't until somebody asked her that she didn't verbalize it. So she didn't, it wasn't conscious in her mind that this is what she thought. And then when she, realized that was her thinking, it was easier to say, oh yeah, why did I even think that? How did it come about? Yeah,
I with some time ago watched the movie. It's like a thriller. It's Pope's Exorcist, and it's fun. But I learned from it the one thing that it was a phrase that to defeat the demon, you have to name it. You have to know the name of this demon. So I believe that it's very similar with these mind barriers. Unless you name them, you have no power over them. Moreover, they have powers on you.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
very true.
I had this question about have you seen those situations where mindset barriers were holding individuals back from achieving goals? But I believe that's exactly how it works. So every barrier is holding individuals back. But what is your favorite approach for working with removing those barriers?
I like to use the so-called like a 5-step model where the coachee can decide whether they want to work with emotions or thoughts, or if they don't want any of it, because it's usually, no, I'm fine, I'm good. let's just talk about my goal. And then you can also talk about the goal, and we call it the result. And then we take it back to what kind of steps they need to take, and then what kind of thinking they have to have in order to be able to take those steps. Because usually we think, oh, I just need to get up, right? So let's say if you want to stay fit, you obviously know what kind of steps you need to take, but it's not only cognitive, so it's not only knowing what kind of steps you need, because then we would all be fit, obviously, and have enormous muscles, but we don't, because something is stopping us, and it's either some kind of emotion or some kind of barrier that you call it, some kind of self-sabotaging thing that we might not be aware of it, or it's not so, we don't put so much importance to it, but it is the one thing that is keeping us from achieving those goals. So it's not like a super sophisticated model or method. It's more of finding the right way for the coachee. So each coachee has a different approach to how they like to work, because sometimes it's not really, it's so uncomfortable to talk about these emotions that it wouldn't take them to the goal. So sometimes it's easier to take them to the goal and then kind of, go back to what was the one thing that was stopping you from achieving it before not having a coach.
But even though it might sound easier, I believe that people are not learning that way. Exactly. So they are achieving their goal, but they won't repeat their results again.
And they won't feel good about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I totally get it, because when somebody tell you to do something, you can do it, you can achieve result, but you won't feel as it's your result.
Exactly.
So you will feel
and you won't celebrate your result, right? It will be just something like, okay, take the box, let's go to the next box, and then
I'm curious, as an expert, how do you stay up to date with the latest research and trends in soft skills and mindset development?
Well, since I have a background in academia, it's awful. So my mind goes to, I need to read everything about this topic in order to be able to help my clients. That was, for example, one of the biggest obstacles of mine, to understand and to accept that sometimes less is more, or actually usually less is more. So the less I know, like theoretically about the topic, and the more I know experientially from them, it's better in this type of work that I do. But obviously my mind cannot really always accept it, so I do research it, I do read a lot about it, but it's always mixed with the entrepreneurial stuff. So it's not like coaching in itself, to me, is kind of boring. So just learning about and reading about coaching, so I always connected with some kind of business elements, because that's what excites me, so that's what's interesting to me.
And practice over theory.
Exactly.
Monika, I really wish to have the sky's limit to our conversation, but time is the limit. So the final question, what is your favorite food?
My favorite food? Well, when I'm in a good mood and I allow myself not to be, health conscious, then obviously all the junk food in the world. But it's my children's influence, so it's not me. Just
Totally.
go with the flow.
I get it.
And sweets are my soft spot. So any kind of cake or pie or anything that is new and fresh, that you can. Absolutely.
Yeah, I understand that's like the sweet part of the life. So definitely. So Monika, thank you very much for sharing your experience, and it's such a pleasure to hear and learn from you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was fun.
And thank you so much for listening. If you like the episode, hit the like button or 5 stars and share it with your friends. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.